this time of year, I start preparing my summer reading list. Now, my summer reading list usually consists of two types of books. One are your typical beach reads, chick lit, light reading, things that you don't have to think about, storylines that are easy and kind of spelled out, nothing I have to piece things together with. And the other type I really like are stories that take me to another country. And not just stories that take place in another country, but a story that will make me feel like I come away knowing something about the culture and about the country of that. I don't want stories that could take place anywhere. I want stories that are dependent on the culture to shape the book. So today I'm going to share with you a few of my favorite fiction books that take me to another place and a couple nonfiction. I don't have many of the books to show you because most of them live inside my trusty Kindle or inside my phone's Overdrive app. But I will try to insert pictures where I can, and down below the links for everything will be listed. So let's get started. The first one is called The House at the Edge of Night, and I listened to this story just recently. It's a multi-generational genre story. It takes place in Castellamare, Italy. It's a fantastic story. It spans the 20th century, roughly, and it tells the story of a family who lives there, small island, so marriage, family, sibling relationships, life on a small island. The next story I have for you is Circling the Sun. This was another one that I listened to as an audiobook, so it's a really great story as an audiobook. The narrator. It's based on the story of Beryl Markham, who was the first female to fly west to east across the Atlantic Ocean. So she's a real person, obviously, but this is the fictionalized version of her story in Africa. She was born in England and moved to Kenya as an older child. And this story tells about her life growing up there, relationships, love. One of the other persons in the story is the main character in the movie Out of Africa. I listened to this story last summer and it was really good. It's long. I think it's around 300 pages long, so it is a sizable read, but it's a very enjoyable read or a very enjoyable listen if you prefer audiobooks. I highly recommend it. It was very interesting to hear about life in Kenya. This is set in the early 1930s, 1940s type time frame. But it was just a fantastic story. I really enjoyed picturing what it would be like to live there. As I started editing this, I realized that I left off a book. And I can't believe it because this is one I've talked about several times. I'm currently in love with it. It's a series called Number One Ladies Detective Agency. It is fantastic. I think book number 18 was released in the fall. So if you like series, this is a great one because there are a lot of them. It's set in Botswana, modern day. And the main character is a single lady who starts a detective agency. Her detective agency isn't really like the crime, seedy, mysterious type of thing that your mind might go to when you think of a detective story. As she puts it, she answers the questions people want answered. If you get turned off by the thought of a detective story, give this one a shot because the stories really revolve around the character more, with the detective agency being part of her life. But there's also talk about relationships and marriage and children and life in Botswana, and it is just fantastic. Also, at the beginning of the video, I forgot to mention that I am on Goodreads, and if you are on there, I would love for you to friend me. I will have a link below. I am always looking for new ideas, and I just love to know what people are reading. So if you are on there, I'd love for you to friend me. Link will be below. Next story is another one I listened to last summer. It's called The Last Train to Istanbul. I didn't love the narrator on this. His voice kind of grated on my nerves a little bit, so I would probably recommend it as a reading book, but it takes place World War II, Turkey. even though I knew the war had extended beyond Western Europe and Japan, I hadn't really thought about it and really made the connections. So this story was very interesting to me for that reason. It just tells the story of a family and how they're affected by World War II. Obviously, they live in Istanbul, and it kind of takes place in Istanbul and France as well. So if you are on a World War II fiction kick like I have been, this would be a great one to add to your list. Next one is called A House Without Windows, and I just finished this one. It's set in modern day Afghanistan and tells the story of a female who is arrested for murder of her husband, and it interweaves the story of her and her lawyer, who is Afghan born but US raised, who goes back to Afghanistan to defend people. He's a human rights lawyer, basically. So he tells the story of her and the defense, as well as the other women in the prison, but primarily within her cell, who are arrested for various reasons that are very cultural in nature. I don't really want to give it all away, so I can't go into it all, but very cultural and not just in an accusatory way, but also for their own safety. So I listened to it as an audiobook. I would not recommend it. I did not like the narrator at all. But I was short on time, sitting down and reading time when I read it, so I listened. But I definitely recommend it. It was an excellent book. And the last fiction book I have for you is called Molokai. As you can tell, maybe by the title and the cover, this does not take place in another country. But when it is set, Hawaii was not yet a state. So I'm taking the liberty in counting it. This is a fantastic story. Starts off with a young child who develops leprosy and is sent to the island of Molokai, which had a leper colony on it. I didn't know this before reading it. We were stationed in Hawaii at the time that I read this, and that's what captured my attention for it. But it tells the story of the leper colony, of this young girl as she grows up, the relationships and the other people who live there, and how time has changed it and changed the island. It's a fantastic story. The author talks about how he researched it, so it's very well researched. I enjoyed reading that. It has a study guide with it. I think it would make a really great book study book. So if you do book studies or book clubs, this might be one you want to take a look at. It is long though. It's a chunk. Almost 360 some pages. And I know you can't see the print, but it's tiny print. So it's going to be an investment in your summer, but it is one that would be well worth it. I highly recommend this one. And now a few nonfiction ones for you. I don't read a lot of international travel memoir type books, so I only have 3 for you. One of them is called Chicken Mules and Two Old Fools, and it's a story of a couple who lived in England and moved to the Andalusia region of Spain to live. And it tells the story of their home and the restoring of it and the village that they live in. And just an easy read. The next one is a 3-book series called My Grape Year, and it tells the story of a young girl from Canada who becomes a foreign exchange student in France for a year, and tells the story of the different families that she lived with, friends. She meets someone, and the series, obviously, she goes back to France to live there after that. But it's another one. It's just a fun read, an easy read. Both of those I got from Amazon on my Kindle. I do not know if you can get them. I don't even know if they're in print. Honestly, I don't know. But if you have Kindle, I would check them out. And even if you don't, you might check
with your library and see if they're available. And the last one is called West with the Night, and it is the autobiography written by Beryl Meckham from Circling the Sun. I read West with the Night before I read Circling the Sun, and I was maybe a quarter of the way into Circling the Sun before I realized that they were the same person. I'd read them about a year and a half or so apart, and just didn't make the connection. So it's written by her. The writing is wonderful, but I wouldn't really say it's an actual autobiography of her. It's more like little short stories about her life and about her flying and her trip, rather than like a continuous one long type story. But really well written. She wrote it when she was alive, so the 40s, and then it was well received. She wrote it, obviously, when she was alive, but then it was really well received, but then it kind of dropped out of notice until I think it was the 80s when it was reprinted, or rediscovered and reprinted. It's a really excellent book. Highly recommend it as well. So there are some historical fiction. So if you're like me and you're not traveling internationally this summer, even though you wish you were traveling, there are some great books to take you to another place and another time for a few of them. Like I said, if you are on Goodreads, I'd love to see what you're reading. So find me, the link will be below. And yeah, I hope you have a great summer. And like I said, I would love to know what is on your summer reading list. So let me know below. Like I said, if you are on Goodreads, I would love to connect with you. The link will be below. Always looking for other ideas to see what people are reading. And I hope you have a fantastic summer. Thanks for watching. Before I get started, if you're on Goodreads, I would love to connect with you over there. I'll have a link below. I always love seeing what other people are reading and getting ideas, and yeah, so that will be below.